Hello everyone, it's Tom here. This is the MSI Katana 15HX with an Intel Core i9-14900HX and an RTX 5070. Now this is a pretty darn good combo, but yeah, there's always a but. Before we talk about the caveats, let's talk about the performance. This laptop performance is very great. It's quite the beastly laptop. It gets 32GB of DDR5 RAM and 1TB of storage, and again, the i9-14900HX and an RTX 5070, all for just about $1,500-ish. And that's a pretty great price-to-performance ratio for a laptop personally, and that's great and all, but how does it perform actually? Now this laptop's screen supports a maximum screen resolution of 2K or 1440p, and with that said, let's go over the performance. Now let's start off with a classic. A classic. Cyberpunk 2077. Well, that's not really a classic, is it? Anyhow, 1440p ultra settings, DLSS set to quality, and FrameGen set to 2 times, and we get a respectable 110 FPS average. Pretty good. Now, what about a slightly older, new game, if that makes sense? GTA 5 Enhanced, another re-release of GTA 5, at 1440p at the highest settings with ray tracing as well, and we get an average FPS of, well, it fluctuates from around 60 to as much as 80 frames per second depending on what's happening in the game. I still think that's pretty good. Now, what about CS2? At 1440p high settings, the game averages a very playable and competitive 200 to 250 frames per second average. Now all of that's great, especially with the 1440p display and the 165Hz refresh rate. That's gonna make everything you'll ever have to do as smooth as butter. Now let's talk about the caveat I was talking about earlier. The i9-14900HX is a very powerful processor, yes, but it might actually be a little too powerful. Now this processor and, well, laptop processors in general can get extremely hot, so you're probably going to be due for a repasting or deep cleaning sooner rather than later. Now that said, it's still very powerful, but it's probably going to be a good idea to undervolt or underclock the processor, only if you know what you're doing. Otherwise, just let it be, honestly. It's a gaming laptop and it's never going to have great cooling compared to a desktop. On the other hand, the 5070 runs relatively cooler and it's pretty powerful for games, but the 8GB of GDDR7 VRAM might be a little too lackluster for the highest graphics at 1440p. That said, it's still good enough for 1440p. Productivity-wise, it's a strong laptop. What else is there to say? It's got a great screen itself, it's got great screen resolution, it's got a nice high refresh rate, and 100% DCI-P3 coverage. You weren't expecting that, were you? Ain't that cool? Speaking of RAM and storage, the RAM is upgradable to 192GB if you need it, but I think 32GB is more than enough for the laptop, especially if you're just going to be gaming. Upgrading the RAM means replacing the ones installed in the laptop, so, there's that. Storage upgrade is not really great, that's one problem. You only get one SSD slot and it's already occupied, so if you want to upgrade, you're stuck with having to replace the whole SSD and reinstalling the OS and everything else. Ports on this laptop are the same as the Katana 15AI. To the left are 2 USB-A ports, to the right is an Ethernet port, 1 HDMI port, 1 USB-C port, 1 more USB-A port, and 1 3.5mm audio combo jack. So what do I think of this laptop? Well, if you're looking for a beefy gaming laptop for an affordable price, this is probably it. You can check it out using the link down below, or you can scan this QR code. Thanks for watching, I'll see you all next time.